point. We have with us, in fact, Karthik S, who has set up the site ItwoFS. Karthik, before I ask you about how widespread this plagiarism is, let me begin by asking you, how did you come to set up this website?
I started, this is actually a personal interest of my dad. So he's actually a big freak on the radio as a circuit. And he used to listen to some vague radio station from Spain and Arab and etc. And he used to find some tunes which have been, say, lifted by people like O.P. Nair, S.D. Burman, etc. So he used to actually share when I actually, as I grew up into a teenager and I was actually into the net. Okay. So I thought, I said, why not actually build a site with this kind of stuff?
All right. Now your site, as I said, tracks what we are calling theft or plagiarism or whatever euphemism you want to use. Answer Anu Malik's question. How widespread is this phenomenon? Is it right the way across the industry?
It's very, very, very widespread, and it's not very fair to actually single out, say, like Anu Malik or Pritam alone on this. It's right from the beginning of Hindi film music, it's there, basically. So you can't actually pinpoint some one composer in this, basically.
And am I right in pointing out that, in fact, it goes back over half a century? One of the earliest lifting, I can use that word, was in fact O.P. Nair, who lifted for his film CID the song Oh My Darling Clementine. It turned out to become Eh Dil Hai Mushkil.
Clementine, absolutely.
So it's been happening for 50 years.
Absolutely, it was used that. Yes, it has been done, and like even Pritam actually used it. Yeah, it's for the title song of Bhagam Bhag. He had actually used a small piece from it.
So in fact, the same song has been the same song has been lifted by two music directors pretty close to 50 years apart. Praveen Anand, you are a intellectual copyright lawyer. If I've looked at that website correctly, amongst the list of composers who have lifted or plagiarized or whatever word you want to use is S.D. Burman, R.D. Burman, Shankar Jaikishan, Lakshmikant Pyarelal, Jatin Lalit, Nadeem Shravan, Rajesh Roshan. And as in fact you heard Karthik say, everyone's doing it. Now, is that simply inspiration or is it plagiarism?
The answer to that would depend on a case-to-case basis. In some cases, it has been inspiration. In some cases, they've crossed the line and it has been plagiarism.
What determines the line?
About 5 or 6 factors. One, whether there has been copying. And at the root of copyright law is that you must copy. So sometimes it may be a coincidence if you take a very small amount.
But if the tune is identical?
If the tune is identical, it's hardly likely that there would be a coincidence that it has been created coincidentally.
So if you were to take an example, and I should say that this is just an arbitrary example I'm taking, but if you were to listen to the song from Hat-Trick that is running as a promo on another TV channel, and you say to yourself, hang on, that's identical to Harry Belafonte's The Woman is Smarter, then that would be tantamount to copying.
That's precisely the test. Is it obvious to a person, to the consumer? Because eventually music is meant to lure the customer. So consumer, while listening to that music, can easily recognize it. And if it has been copied to the extent that he gets lured into purchasing it, the harm is done. You've crossed the line.
Now, there is a very interesting point here, Pritam. We happen to talk about your song only because it came to mind, and I'm, for the audience's sake, saying that this is happening across the board. You're not the only one doing it. But if people hear your song running as a promo and recognize the original, isn't that copying?
But, Karan?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, with the Hat-Trick song in specialty, I would like to say that it is a calypso genre. If you see the starting note, I have gone through these questions over and over again on specialty song. That genre, like for example, the chorus, which is he'll say, let's play the game. That he'll say notes. We had some other notes earlier. And then I was not enjoying the note, so I came back to earlier it was I saying hey ho like that. So I was not enjoying the note. Then when I heard the ICC song, he'll say plays the same. It is the calypso genre is the same. You can't change too much. If you hear the Alligator Fountain song, which you are mentioning about, the notes which are similar is. The last line which drops into the chorus, that note is similar, and the rest of the chords I can't go out of the calypso format. Yeah, in a rock and roll, if it and in fact I can in fact there are many calypso songs which sounds the same. In this particular case,
Okay,
in
that's your
Hattrick,
explanation. Let me bring in Ronnie Screwala. Ronnie, your company, as I said, is the producer of the film. You heard Praveen Anand say that the test is whether the original is clearly recognizable when you hear the copy. If it is clearly recognizable and you immediately think of the original and say, hang on, this is lifted from there, then it's a copy. How do you respond to that? And does that test, is that a test that you would apply to the music for films that you produce?
Yeah, well, firstly, I'd like to say plagiarism in any form is inexcusable. Secondly, I don't think any of us should have an excuse that 99 are original and 1 is a copy, so that's also excusable. It's not. It's inexcusable. Number 3, I think we're an evolving industry. I think the question here is, yes, if there's any similarity to it, it means it's either inspired or copied, both are equally, unless you have given due credit to the original composer. And I think what the industry needs to move to, and it is slightly moving to, is not necessarily this site can exist and you can identify lookalikes and copies, but as long as the royalty is paid, the issue doesn't arise. You can still have, I mean, there are lots of Western movies that hate remakes of what they did 40 years back, but they pay the copyrights. So I think when you're acknowledging something, it's not just whether it's inspired and copied, it's without any monetary compensation. And I think that's where the industry should move to and will move to.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break at that point and come back and ask, how should the Hindi film industry and perhaps the music industry in particular tackle this problem in the future? How do we ensure that our creativity remains original and not, so to speak, borrowed? See you in a moment after the break.